Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I know my voice kind of sounds off. I've actually lost it a few days back and this is the best it's been since. In today's episode I want to work on installing some axles in the car. So far half the work is already done because when I did the engine swap initially I had to take out the old, so I only really have to do half the amount of work today, so let's go step by step on how I do it. Now obviously the first step you should do is if your car is on the ground, loosen up those nuts first, but since mine is in the air I'm just going to loosen it up with the impact. This guy right here is the inboard joint. It's actually part of the old drive shaft. I was a little confused at first on it, but opening up my book I see that I have to remove this and I can get the new drive shaft inserted. So grab yourself an adjustable pipe wrench, put it in there so it sits in between there perfectly, okay? Add some pressure, basically pulling the bottom end to you, and start hitting it with the hammer. And comes out so much easier. What I do is if you do have a cotter pin, remove that. I didn't because I took it off and threw it out because I'm replacing it. I get yourself a 17 mil socket and undo the castle nut for the ball joint, remove that off. Loosen up and remove that bolt off the damper fork on the lower control arm. Slide it out. Set it aside. And on the inside we want to remove that 14 mil bolt right there. Now if you don't have a tool like the pickle fork, you can just go ahead and smash this part right here with a hammer and that ball joint will fall out. Be sure not to hit the thread. Come on. There we go. So the next thing is I got my insane shaft axles right here. I went with these because I do plan on eventually running more power into this car, so these are rated at 500 horsepower. Next thing we're going to do is insert the drive shaft into the half shaft. There is this ring that you need to make sure that you get over, and as well just line everything up properly. And once you do, just push it in and it should. There you go. Make sure it's seated all the way back there nicely. There you go. That's that sound that we wanted. Let's get the other end of the axle inside the hub. It's gonna be a little difficult. There we go. Oh, stay there, stay. Come on, there you go. So I've dropped the ball joint back in its position. I put on this 32 mil axle nut, just finger tight right now. Put the castle nut back on. So while I'm here, I'm going to tighten down the castle nut to its specifications of 36 to 43 foot-pounds. As well, when I'm here, I'm going to do up the tie rod, making sure that's between 29 and 35. As well for the upper control arm, 29 to 35, and I'll feed the cotter pins through. And 3/32 cotter pins will fit perfectly inside each of the castle nuts. Attach the fork onto the strut and get this back on there. Push up on the whole thing, get that 14 mil bolt back in for the damper fork. And go ahead and retighten that bolt to 32 pounds. After that, the bottom fork bolt connecting to the lower control arm, 47 foot-pounds, we're good. done the installation of the axles. What I did quickly as well is I repaired this bracket here that holds the coolant reservoir. So I have this nicely in there in position. I still need to get the little tube that goes in between here, and the hose from here to here is on order. I should get that. The slave cylinder down at the very bottom, you know, it is a little too close that eventually I think if I do have this car running, it may still interfere with it. So I've ordered myself an Integra slave cylinder, so where this bleeder nipple is actually downwards, so the clearance in here will be a lot safer. So that's gonna wrap up today's episode, guys. The installation of the axles went nicely. If you are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button below, and see you later.